Hi everyone, welcome back to IELTS with Ralph. Today we're going to tackle one of the most common types of Task 1 questions, the line graph. If you've ever wondered how to describe trends clearly and score high in coherence and vocabulary, this video is for you. Line graphs, as you know, are all about showing change over time. So you might be asked to describe rising trends, falling trends, or fluctuations. And in this video, I will show you simple strategies to quickly understand a line graph, the essential phrases you need, and how to structure your answer like a Band 9 candidate. And by the end, you will feel confident spotting trends and describing them naturally in English. So let's jump right in and learn how to analyze line graphs like a pro. First of all, let's take a look at our question and the line graph. So as you can see, there are, let's say this is a kind of line graph in which there are 5 different lines, all right? And each is about a specific country. First of all, let's read the question. The graph below shows the percentage of workers from 5 different European countries that were absent for a day or more due to illness from 1991 to 2001. So it's a period of 10 years, right? And it is a day of sick leave in 5 different countries. So the most important thing here is, first of all, you know that the first paragraph is introduction, and the second paragraph is overview paragraph. And the rest will be about writing the details, right? Now, it's important to categorize data here. So are we going to have 2 paragraphs or 3? Here, actually, I'm going to have 3 detailed paragraphs, all right? In one paragraph, I'm going to describe the Netherlands and a bit France, and I'm going to compare Netherlands and France. And in the second detailed paragraph, I'm going to actually focus on France and Sweden, and the rest of the countries, which are UK and the UK and Germany, will be in the last paragraph. All right, so let's just start with writing our introduction paragraph. Well, it's pretty clear. We just paraphrase the question, right? We restate the question itself using some synonym words. So if in our introduction, it starts with the line graph, the graph below shows the percentage of workers, we can write compare. The line graph compares the proportion. Instead of percentage, I write the proportion of employees. Instead of workers, I write employees who took at least a day of sick leave. So absent for a day or more due to illness, I just write sick leave. In 5 European nations, instead of countries, I write nations between 1991 and 2001. That's it. It's a very clear and nice introduction paragraph. Now, we are going to write about the most striking feature of this graph, which is our overview paragraph. Guys, I'm going to help you here, and every time when you want to write about striking feature of a line graph, you can write about the trend. What do I mean by the trend? The beginning and end. Is it a rising trend or increasing trend, or is it, let's say, a decreasing trend, or the trend declined? As you can see, for Netherlands, it's actually rising, all right? It was upward, all right? And also for Sweden, all right? So Netherlands and Sweden, these 2 countries experienced upward trend. However, France declined significantly throughout this period. So it declined from 5 to around, let's say, 3, right? And for the UK and Germany, they were the lowest and the most stable. Okay, so this is how we can write about overview paragraph when we want to talk about when we want to write about a line graph. This is a very let's say well organized overview paragraph. If we just write about the trend, right? Now let's just start writing this paragraph. Overall, levels of sickness absence. So instead of sickness leave, because I don't want to make it repetitive, so I write another word, sickness absence, in the Netherlands and Sweden showed a general upward trend. Showed a general upward trend. It's a very nice word here. While France's rate declined significantly throughout the period. So you pay attention here to the adjectives and adverbs and the verbs and nouns I'm using here to describe trend. So France's rate declined significantly throughout the period. Meanwhile, the UK and Germany recorded the lowest but most stable figures. Most stable figures. All right, now let's start writing our first detailed paragraph, starting with the Netherlands. And I have talked a lot about writing about line graph, and we always start with the beginning, right? Here we can compare the Netherlands and France. And as you can see, France is a little bit higher than the Netherlands. The Netherlands is around 4.9%, and France is 5%. So we can start writing about this. In the Netherlands, illness absence rates were the highest in all years. So as you can see, it is the highest. So we should always talk about the highest and the lowest, right? You remember, we worked a lot on writing line graphs before in our previous videos, except in 1991, all right, when the rate was around 4.9%, slightly below France's 5%. So here I make a comparison between France and the Netherlands. Now, what happened after that? This rate then increased to a peak of roughly 5.5% in 1992. As you can see, in 1992, it is 5.5, which is the peak, right? And before falling sharply to a low of, it means the lowest point for the Netherlands, of about 4% in 1996. And what happened after that? From that time, or from there, it quickly climbed back to its earlier peak by 2001. This is a very clear analysis of this graph here of the country, the Netherlands. So I talked about the beginning, the peak, and the decrease, and also the increase, which returned back to its peak by 2001. Now, in my next paragraph, I'm going to talk about France and Sweden. So because I'm going to talk about these two countries, I start my paragraph with these two countries, with the name of these two countries. France and Sweden experience contrasting trends. As you can see, France started with 5%, right? And Sweden started with 3%. In 1996, as you can see, Sweden surpassed France, and from that moment on, it was increasing, and France, it became around stable at around 3%. So this is how I'm going to analyze this part. France and Sweden experienced contrasting trends. In 1991, France recorded the highest absence rate You remember, we always talk about the highest point at 5%, while Sweden's rate was lower at only 3%. France's figures then decreased significantly, as you can see. They decreased significantly and were surpassed by Sweden's in 1996 before stabilizing. It's a very important word. It means to become steady. Stabilizing at close to. It's a very nice word. Instead of saying around, close to 3% for the rest of the period. Now, by contrast, I'm going to write about Sweden. By contrast, after hovering at means remaining around a particular level without much change, all right? After hovering at roughly 3% for the first 6 years, Sweden's figures increased dramatically, ending the period at nearly 4.8%. Now it's time to write about the UK and Germany. I start my sentence in the third detailed paragraph like this. Turning to. It means that I'm going to talk about or write about the remaining countries. Turning to the remaining nations. Sickness absence levels in Germany were the lowest among the 5, fluctuating around 1.5% over the decade. The UK's figures also remained relatively stable. It means that they stayed almost unchanged, right? Remained relatively stable, but were slightly higher at roughly 2.5%. So you see in my last paragraph, I described UK and Germany. Both had fluctuations around. So for Germany, it was around 1.5%, and for the UK, it was around roughly 2.5%. And I also mentioned that Germany had the lowest rate among the 5 countries. So that's it. This is for today, and we talked about writing a very nice, well-organized Task 1 report, and I analyzed, as you can see, the beginning of each graph, the middle, striking features, and the end, right? So the most important thing in writing, let's say, line graph is always to write about the first, the highest, the lowest, the peak, the ending of each line in a very well-organized, let's say, report. If you have any questions, guys, you can simply ask in comments and I will kindly answer all your questions. And for our next video, I'm thinking of writing another report on graphs, so stay tuned and you will enjoy our next video too. Until next time, bye-bye.